What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel. And today's video is going to be a fun one. It's what I always enjoy doing. It's a fun little process, which there's only really two outcomes. One is you come off like a smart draft nerd because you can guess way ahead of time who the first round picks are going to be in next year's 2026 NFL draft. But the more likelihood is you were going to put some guys here in this mock draft that end up going undrafted and you look like a complete idiot. Yes, it is time for our way too early 2026 NFL mock draft. At minimum, you can leave this video getting hyped up about a couple players going into next football season as relates to college. That's all I can ask. I love college football. I cannot wait. That is pretty much as soon as the draft concludes. I'm just like, how much longer till college football starts? So we're going to have a little bit of fun here, and we're already going to have to deal with I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to say this is going to be a spoiler of a 2026 mock draft because as we start, Arch Manning is included pretty much on every site that you can mock draft. I'm going to probably put it at 25% that he declares next season. I think there's a scenario where like maybe Texas goes on a run, Texas wins the Natty, he gets up there in Heisman voting, that he might just say, screw it, like, what better time than now? I'm not going to gain anything by returning to college football. I am pro-ready. I'm further ahead of than where my development is, and obviously he's got to have Eli and Peyton in his ear. I still think he's going to return, but for the sake of this exercise, it's not going to be anything too seriously. We're going to put Arch at 1 because if he does declare, he is easily going to be the first overall pick. His talent, I'd say the only thing kind of questionable about Arch is maybe his true arm talent. I have a buddy that's a Longhorns fan that was kind of saying maybe there's more to the fact that is there a reason why Arch Manning couldn't get on the field last year for Texas over Quinn Ewers? Clearly, Texas was limited by Quinn Ewers down the stretch. Quinn Ewers went, 6th round in the draft? And truly, if Arch Manning is this consensus whenever he declares he's going first overall player, surely they would have been like, this could be, Sark's only opportunity at a natty. Why not just go with the best quarterback? So maybe there's something under the hood that could make Arch not a can't-miss generational player, but until that potentially gets exposed next season as a full-time starter, I got to go with the undeniable traits and undeniable upside that he has as a player. I think the only thing that could potentially come into question would be his pro readiness whenever he ends up due to declare. Number 2, we have the Tennessee Titans on the clock, and I'm going to have them select T.J. Parker, edge rusher from Clemson, 6'3", 265, 20 TFLs, and 11 sacks a year ago. The debate this year for the Titans was, do they go Cam Ward? Do they go Abdul Carter? Edge rush, still a need for them, so why not? Now you have your quarterback in place. Probably not where you want to be picking, with the idea that you have your franchise quarterback in place. But if you are in that spot, get your guys the franchise player on the defensive side of the ball. And for my money, that will be T.J. Parker. Number 3, we have the New Orleans Saints, and I'm going to have them select. This is always fun to see who potentially falls. I'm going to go Cade Klubnik, the quarterback out of Clemson. Former 5-star recruit. Stepped up last year, man. Like 2 years ago, kind of looked like another meme. Looked like another DJU highly rated recruit that's just kind of crashing out at Clemson. Stepped it up last year. 64% completion percentage, 3,600 yards, 36 touchdowns to 6 picks. He also is a dual threat quarterback, almost 500 yards on the ground, and another 7 touchdowns. So you got butthead Kellen Moore as the head coach in New Orleans. I think it is time that this year, especially, what the hell goes on with that quarterback? You have Tyler Shuck, but I don't think drafting Tyler Shuck's going to prevent you, if you are picking at number 3, from going for a true franchise quarterback and not trying to rely on Brandon Weeden 2.0. So we're going to have them select a quarterback here, and unfortunately, this likely means Tyler Shuck did not work out for the Saints, which was one of the best piece of viral content on social media, was the Saint fans losing their mind after Tyler Shuck was drafted in the Twitter Live or whatever. Go search it out. It was pretty funny. We have the New York Giants at pick number 4. We're going to go a little bit against consensus here. I'm going to go Francis Mauigoa, tackle from Miami. He's a right tackle, so that means you're still going to have Andrew Thomas at left tackle. He'll come in and play at right tackle. I think Caden Proctor is going to fall just a little bit because he is, you're gambling on upside. He's 6'7", 370, inconsistent as a player right now. I think when you're the New York Giants, you're going to get PTSD of Evan Neal taking a look at Caden Proctor. So why not go with a better, similar athlete in Mauigoa, a guy that fits easier into their offensive line at right tackle and protects Jackson Dart. I think tackle is definitely a popular pick and will be a popular pick if the Giants end up picking top 5. The New York Jets at number 5, we are going to go with Drew Allar, the quarterback out of Penn State. Now, we need to see a lot of development. There was flashes last year. He has the traits. This is a guy that's, 6'5", 240, 235, somewhere in that range, as prototypical size as you can get. 66% completion percentage last year, 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns to 8 picks, 300 yards, 7 touchdowns rushing. So it does give you a little bit of dual threat there. But ultimately, a lot of these quarterbacks, we're going to be talking about projections. They are going to have to go into this season and step their game up. But we're going off of the glimpses that we saw. And Drew Allar, maybe a little too hot and cold to say, yes, he is going to go in the top 5 of the 2026 NFL draft. But the good of Drew Allar is what teams desire for franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. And if he has a strong campaign next year, he absolutely will be a first-round quarterback. How high he can go, well, we'll have to see where Penn State finishes up next season. We have at number 6, the Carolina Panthers getting the best pound-for-pound player in the class, and that is Caleb Downs. I know it is faux pas to draft a safety high. I know every year there's outstanding safeties that fall in the draft, but I think Caleb Downs is going to be a rare case. There's an argument to be made that if you throw in like linebacker, safety, corner, Downs could be one of the best run defenders in the class. As a cover man, if you're comparing safeties and corners, he could be one of the best cover man in the class. Athletes in the class, he could be in this guy. He is a rare player. How you can assume Carolina picking at 6, maybe, Bryce Young thing didn't work out. I want to go on the side of Bryce Young, and the offense shows some progress this year. Again, another step. And it was just the defense lacking star talent that kind of held the Panthers back here a little bit. So I think someone like Caleb Downs, that's just an absolute game wrecker. The value is going to be too much. I'd be shocked if he falls without of the top 10. But again, it's the NFL. They never value safeties. Anything could happen, but I'd love to see Carolina to make that move. Cleveland is back on the clock at 7 after going Arch Manning. We are going, for Caleb Downs, stat-wise, if we're here, 8 TFLs, 6 PBUs, 2 picks. He's incredible. And he's like one of the best punt returners in college. So Cleveland at 7, we're going to have them select Peter Woods, the D lineman at Clemson. I think the combination of him, Mason Graham, Myles Garrett on that defensive line can you got your quarterback. Let's take that defense over the top. Peter Woods, 6'3", 315, so a little bit bigger than Mason Graham. 15% pass rush win rate, a 90 PFF grade as a run defender, 9 TFLs and 3 sacks, an ascending player, former 5-star recruit, very safe pick, which follows along the lines of what the Browns did, I thought, with Mason Graham, which was go with the best run defender, highest floor with a high ceiling. I think you get that and can double up with Peter Woods. You can never have too many defensive linemen. Indianapolis at number 8. Thought about quarterback here. We'll see. I have a take about Nussmeier a little bit later in the video. You're not going to go Sellers because that's too close to Anthony Richardson. I don't really have... I would say at this spot, not a great spot for a quarterback if you were the Colts. But if the Colts are picking top 10, they're probably going to be in the market for the quarterback. So let's just hypothetically say they're going to be going for a veteran quarterback in free agency. If that's the board, they're going to go with the top corner. And I'm going to have them select Jermod McCoy, 89 PFF grade, 4 picks, 9 PBUs, was the highest graded corner in last year's. Gives you everything you want for an NFL corner. Guy that can play on the outside, great athleticism. PFF has this athleticism metric. I don't know if that's GPS data, but he was a 1%, top 1% athleticism. So he's a guy that's expectations 4.2, 4.3 speed, lockdown on the outside, which I think at this price point, considering there's no quarterbacks you love, and look at the rest of the Colts roster, if McCoy firmly does establish himself as the top corner in this year's class, I think the Colts could certainly do for a corner. Pick number 9, we have the Vegas Raiders. I'm going a little off the board. One of my favorite players in last year's class. I can't believe he's getting this slept on right now. And that is Mateo Uiagalelei, the brother of the quarterback, that kind of a viral meme player last season, which is unfortunate. But the baby brother is, I will be shocked if he's not a top 10 pick. 6'5", 270, 13 TFLs, 10.5 sacks, and he plays like a maniac. He is, out of all the defenders, Peter Woods, that are like D linemen, TJ Parker. You might get a little bit higher floors on those guys, but I think Uiagalelei, dude, you can't watch Oregon play without just who is this maniac coming off the edge, always in the backfield. I think you have a guy that probably needs to refine his pass rush moves a little bit more, like the technical side, but he is shot out of a cannon every single time. He is a pass rush specialist. He can affect the run game. I think that's going to be an area that can improve a little bit and probably needs to improve a little bit for him to land a top 10 projection. But I think he's a special player, and I think for the Raiders, him on the other side of Max Crosby, that is going to give Pete Carroll a pass rush that he could only dream of and imagine right now. We have the Patriots up at number 10, and I'm going to have them stay on the defensive line, and they're going to go Keldrick Falk, the D lineman from Auburn. He is 6'6", 270 pounds, so I think he can play a lot of different positions on that defensive line for Mike Vrabel. 11 TFLs and 7 sacks. Should be a plus tester, maybe not a freak of nature, but you're getting a proven, reliable, high-floor run defender that has some pass rush chops from the SEC play that fits that scheme that Mike Vrabel's trying to run. I think that is a very nice selection. Pretty much consensus where he's about to go. I think he's probably a guy that's going to fall between that 8 and 15 range. I do think he makes sense and a fit for the Patriots defense. Rams at number 11. I'm going to have McVay land the project. They have 2 first-round picks, so I think they can get a little risky. And with this selection, I think if the contract, everything plays out, you're going to have 1 more year of Matt Stafford at this selection. So you're going to be able to redshirt LaNorris Sellers, who is 6'3", 242 pounds. Cannon of an arm, 65% completion percentage last year, 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns to 7 picks, almost 700 yards on the ground, and another 7 touchdowns. I know stylistically, maybe not the quarterback we've seen, but McVay's only ever had the pocket passers. What could he do? Like, wasn't he with the Commander? Well, not the Commanders when he was there, with RG3, the RG3 years? Like, let's get McVay a weapon at quarterback. Let's get out the pocket passers with Goff, with Stafford. Get 1 more year, Stafford. You can refine Sellers. Let McVay work his magic. I think out of all the quarterbacks that are available, Sellers would be the one I'd love to see McVay work with and just what he could do. In the landing spot with 1 more year of Stafford, I think that would be a perfect spot. And then, because that's a Hail Mary. We've seen, your Jalen Milrows fall in the draft. You saw your Anthony Richardson, these guys that are premier athletes that need refining as pass quarterbacks. Maybe the value is not particularly high on those freaks right now. Let's bring it back, Rams. Do it. Now we have the Arizona Cardinals at number 12. And I'm going to have them take the gamble of getting Caden Proctor, the tackle from Alabama, 6'7", 370 pounds, former 5-star. Inconsistent. He's a guy that, if he can figure it out, lock it down for Alabama, this is probably going to look stupid having him fall all the way to 12. But I just see a guy that is a little raw. Needs a little bit of refining a little bit. And I think when you look at value, that guy's still going to go very high based off of traits alone. How high will someone that want to just gamble those traits? That is going to be intriguing. But I think when you look at the Arizona Cardinals offensive line, if you can get Proctor at right tackle, Paris Johnson left tackle, they figure it out. That's going to give you an excellent, your 2 bookends, and you can kind of work on the interior a little bit. If the Cardinals are picking at 12, though, I mean, there could be a question like, is this the Kyler Murray thing? Like, could this be a scenario where, Colts, I don't know. Could this be a scenario where they move on from Kyler Murray? Some of these teams that aren't getting quarterbacks this year, that could be like their offseason quarterback. And would Arizona be considering a quarterback if they are picking just outside the top 10? It's an interesting debate, but given the quarterback board, I'm going to go with just offensive line. It is a need for them, and go with the immense upside that Caden Proctor would have. Seattle at 13. Maybe a little bit of a hot pick. I'm going to go Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker from Texas. Reason why I'm going with this is McDonald knows the value of an elite linebacker. I think Hill could be his Roquan Smith. He wants that Roquan Smith that he had when he was in Baltimore, that just leader of the defense. I think much like the revival of the running back, we're seeing linebackers also creep back up into we need great linebacker play. The difference between the best teams in the NFL and the kind of fringe playoff teams, it almost looks like when you look on the defensive side, it's an elite linebacker. I think the argument can be made as me as an Eagle fan that Zach Bond's breakout on the defensive side of the ball, that that absolutely was one of the pieces why our defense was day and night from where we were a year ago, when we just crashed and burned and we lost and got embarrassed and lost all those games down the stretch and got bumped in the first round by the Bucs. We just didn't have that game changer in the middle of the defense. We get Zach Bond, who probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year last season, gets a huge incredible playmaker. This is a guy that forces turnovers, got the pick in the Super Bowl, forced fumbles, covers tight ends, gets huge PBUs, crucial PBUs. The value of just that game changer in the middle of your defense. I don't know if Seattle has that, and Anthony Hill is that special of a talent. 6'3", 235 pounds, 113 tackles, 17 TFLs, 8 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, a pick. He can do it all. And I think there could be value, especially if McDonald there sees shades of Roquan and what he could bring to that defense. Miami at pick 14. I'm going to go with who I think will be the top wide receiver off of this pool. We're going to go Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. 6'1". We got 75 catches, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. The combination, him and Levitt, the quarterback from Arizona State, down here. I don't know if he's going to be a first rounder, but we'll be in that discussion of like the next batch of quarterbacks. A lot of expectations. PFF, all these sites are saying that could be one of the best 1-2 punches of draft-eligible players in the entire draft class next season. Tyson with the breakout campaign, all expectations are he's going to top those numbers. And I think when all is said and done, could end up wide receiver 1. And we look at Miami, uncertainty around Tyreek Hill. Even if they just get him for one more year, I imagine they're probably looking at ways to kind of end that relationship. And if they do so, Tyson at wide receiver could be the number 1 in this class. Dallas at 15. I hate this, but this is what they're going to do. I'm going to select Caleb Banks because just teams in the NFC East draft good Florida Gators. They highly rated Gators. They go away. You look at the Dallas Cowboys defense, they need D-tackle help. Caleb Banks, 7 TFLs, 4.5 sacks, an ascending player. 6'7", 325 pounds. He's Mazi Smith as a run defender, and he gives you juice as a pass rusher. He is an incredible talent. He's a guy that I think if you're looking, and I did my research, I looked around some of these way too early mock drafts, wasn't seeing him making it. I can tell you right now as a Florida Gator fan, if he continues his trajectory, I will be shocked if he's not in the discussion with Peter Woods for the first D-tackle selected, and I think he's a first-rounder all day. Pittsburgh at number 16, I'm going to have them avoid quarterback and go Avion Terrell, A.J. Terrell's brother at Clemson. Now, he's 5'11", 180, so a little bit undersized, but he is a plus run defender. Had a 90.7 run grade by PFF, 5 TFLs, 2 picks, 3 forced fumbles, and 12 PBUs last year for Clemson. Expectations as well with that smaller frame. He is going to test like a 5'11", 180 corner, so I'm talking low 4.3s with a plus run defender. That is a perfect fit. That is absolutely the type of corner that the Pittsburgh Steelers like. In this situation as well, team that is hungry for a quarterback, I don't see the upside at this spot, and I think veteran quarterback might be the play here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or maybe looking at trading up for a quarterback, but let's go get a guy that I think is a perfect Steelers scheme fit. And Mike Tomlin will be over the moon with Terrell as a play from a play style standpoint. Number 17, we have the Chicago Bears, and I'm going to have them select Danny Dennis Sutton, the pass rusher from Penn State, 6'5", 275, 13 TFLs, 8.5 sacks. This is kind of under the assumption that maybe you're starting to see like Montez Sweat. He had athleticism, S tier, and as he gets older, that's starting to drop a little bit. Didn't really give the amount of production that you're looking for. I think the pass rush for Chicago is going to be the biggest area of concern going into this draft, and getting the next line of very good Penn State pass rushers, kind of an easy selection for me at 17. Minnesota at 18, I'm going to go with A.J. Harris, the corner from Penn State. Now, there's a little projection here, but he's a former high recruit of Georgia, going to Penn State. I'm going to say by looking at him, he is going to test very well. He is going to be a very big tester at 6'1", 185. He had 48 tackles, 4 TFLs, and a pick, and 5 PBUs. So maybe not first-round production, but you have a guy that was rated, I think he was like the 5 or 6 returning corner by PFF. You have athletic pedigree that should test off the charts and put him right in line for a first, second-round pick. And much like a lot of these players, I mean, it can be said for pretty much everyone. They need to, show that ascension this upcoming season. And I'm going to give a lot of these guys will and solidify themselves as first rounders for the Vikings. They could always, it feels like every year, need a corner sooner rather than later in the draft. Denver at 19, we're going to go with L.T. Overton, the D lineman from Alabama. He's 6'5", 285, so there's a versatility here that he can play multiple positions on that Denver Broncos defensive front. 42 tackles, 3 TFLs, 2 sacks. He had an 18% pass rush win rate, which was, I believe, top 30 in all of college football. So you have a guy with that to back up, like the Hoyt needs to have said. This is a guy that won a lot, just couldn't find that production. The assumption is that those sacks and TFL numbers are going to rise up, and I think that versatility on that front three for the Denver Broncos makes him a very interesting selection. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 20, and I'm going to have them select Spencer Fano, the tackle from Utah. Now, the only reason why he's falling, he's PFF's number 1 graded tackle, a 93 grade, but shorter arms is kind of the word on the street that he could fall into that like Will Campbell discussion. Maybe he's not as good as Will Campbell. So when you've had those guys that fall just a little bit, it's like, are they going to be a guard? are they going to be a tackle? And I feel like that 20 is a sweet spot for that guy to potentially fall because the Bucs could use a guard. They could use a tackle. And I think that if you kind of go into this pick viewing him, he's a tackle until he's not, and then worst case, he's a guard. You need both those spots on that offensive line. 6'6", 300 pounds, had a 93 PFF grade, and the only reason why I have him falling to 20 and not going earlier is just because out of all the tackles so far, and all the tackles that are really in that first-round discussion, he's kind of the one right now that has that perception that he might be better as a guard than a tackle in the NFL. We have, at 21, the Houston Texans are back on the clock. We're going to stay at tackle and go Isaiah World out of Oregon, the transfer from Nevada. 6'8", 310 pounds. He was the number one player in the transfer portal. He was a top 25 tackle as far as pass rush and run grades. We're going to gamble on traits here. You look at the Houston Texans, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. They probably should have went more offensive line in the past draft. And I think this year, protecting, I don't know. I feel like my perception, the Texans roster, is last year's offensive line was terrible. Clearly had to kind of reset there. You gave up on Tunsil. But it was terrible. Like, you affected C.J. Stroud's development because your O-line was so bad. This year's offensive line for the Texans, at best, is like it might be where it was last year. So that's still not going forward. There still wasn't the huge strides taken on the offensive line. So I think if World, with those traits, pops off for Oregon, number one transfer portal, the expectations are he's firmly going to establish himself as a first-rounder. Makes a lot of sense for the Texans at 21 to protect C.J. Stroud. Chargers at pick 22. Very value pick. I would be shocked if this guy doesn't go higher. I'm going to go Ruben Bain, the pass rusher out of the U. 6'3", 275. Now, he had an injury last year that kind of knocked his stats. So we are all kind of waiting and seeing if he can return to his freshman form. As a freshman for Miami, 13 TFLs, 7.5 sacks. And he was like one of those dudes that like looked like as a freshman, he could have been one of those guys who goes from high school to the NFL. But then last year was inconsistent, and then the expectation. Everyone knew that this stud freshman from Miami was here, so now he's getting double teams. Can he work his way out double teams? Wasn't 100% healthy, so there's a question mark of whether or not he can get back to that form. And if he does, he probably will go much higher than 22. But at this given spot, even if it's still, can he not work off those double teams and getting all that extra attention? He still will be a first rounder, and the Chargers could always use more help at pass rush, especially with Khalil Mack likely retiring at the end of the season. Green Bay at 23. We're going to go a little off the consensus here. I'm going to go Zane Durant, the D lineman from Penn State. 6'1", 290, 95 pounds, somewhere. Just a unique type, but he was high on Bruce Feldman's freak list. He's one of those guys that's going to be next in line of these D linemen from Penn State that is expected to put like a 9.8, 9.9 RAS. So that's something that's going to interest Green Bay. Building the trenches is something that's going to interest Green Bay. 11 TFLs, 3 sacks, had 28 pressures from the interior last season. That is a very versatile player for that front three for the Green Bay Packers. And another guy that probably, if he ascends the way that people are expecting, likely won't still be on the board at 23, but I think it's an interesting value for a position that I think Green Bay wants to add a little more youth to. The Rams back up at 24 with their second first-round pick. After selecting the quarterback, we are going to go in the secondary and get Malik Muhammad from Texas. This was a tough call because I think Kilgore's the better player. I think Kilgore should go in the first round, but he's kind of like a nickel. He's going to be like most likely a nickel and or a safety. Whereas Muhammad, like if you're just looking for first rounders that can play on the outside, that is going to be Muhammad. Muhammad's a guy that's like, it's tough to project, man. 6 feet, 190, had no picks, 8 PBUs. He's just rarely targeted. I think PFF had this metric of like value, like the most valuable corners returning. He was number 3 out of all the corners in college football. So he's just one of those guys like you watch him play, does a great job on shutting his side of the field with no more Jahdae Barron expectations. All eyes are going to be on him to kind of lead that Texas secondary. No Barron, no more Makuba. But I think the justification of this is like I have other corners I think I like, but as far as guys that are going to be an outside corner, I think you need to trust kind of the consensus here, and I think Muhammad, from a schematic standpoint, would fit well with what the Rams run on defense. 25, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm going to have them select Dylan Thiedemann, the safety from Oregon, transfer from Purdue. He's a fun player. 6 feet, 210, had 104 tackles, 5 TFLs, 7 PBUs last year. Kind of miscast. Like you look at the scouting reports, he needs to play center field because when he played center field 2 years ago at Purdue, he had 6 picks. Expectation as well that he's a freak of nature athlete. He is Bruce Feldman's freak list. He's a guy that is expected to get like 9.5, 9.6 plus RAS score. I think when you take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals, their secondary in the safety room was a position they could have went after this year. Geno Stone had the picks, but was not graded out particularly well. Kind of got picked on in coverage a little bit. And I think the priority for the Bengals with how they've decided they want to build their roster from a salary cap standpoint, they have to go defense, defense, defense with all of their primary picks for the next couple of drafts. And I would say, looking at the board right now, Thieneman likely is the best available defensive player. So you trust your board, and you get likely a plus starter on a rookie contract for the next 5 seasons. Next up, we have the Commanders at 26. A little bit of a luxury pick. We're going to go Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. 91 PFF grade. He is an elite athlete. Over 1,000 yards, 17 touchdowns. Rushing, 28 catches, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns as a receiver. Can do it all. I think the revival of the running back, we're going to start seeing more and more, I think, over the next couple of years, as long as the talent warrants it, with Love absolutely has. First-round picks at running back. We saw, Ashton Genty and Marion Hampton go in the first round last year. I think Love expected to be the first running back selection. I think when you look at the Commanders, they're getting to a spot right now where, they are probably a team that can enjoy the luxury of, if best player available, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is a running back, to select said running back, and that's why we have them going with that to help out. Jaden Daniels in the run game. Love and Daniels try to continue both those players. Wouldn't love it as an Eagle fan, I'll say that. San Francisco up next. We're going to have them go Jennings Dunker, tackle from Iowa. I think offensive line, they did their due diligence on D-line with the draft this year in 2025. I think next year we shuffle more towards our focus to prioritize the offensive line. Dunker was a 90 run block grade, 90 overall grade, 6'3", 315. And I think, let's be honest, not just kind of take a casual approach, but as Shanahan offense, you got to be able to run block your ass off. I almost feel like first and foremost. And for him to come in on the offensive line, I think that likely would be the position that the Niners would like to get younger at and improve across the board. Buffalo at number 29. This was our 28, sorry. This was kind of a difficult pick given the board. I, however, am going to go with David Bailey, the pass rusher from Texas Tech. Transferred very late in the process from Stanford, 6'3", 250. He's expected to be a plus tester, put up, oh shit, this guy's a big-time athlete, rushing the quarterback. 8 TFLs, 7 sacks, 5 forced fumbles last year at Stanford, and now making the jump to Texas Tech. Expectations is that production is going to definitely take a step up, and he will be a double-digit sack getter when all is said and done as a plus athlete. Those guys tend to go in the first round, and when you look at the Buffalo Bills defense, I think adding a pass rush specialist, a guy that has just elite speed and quickness, get around the edge, and affect the pass game, I think that could certainly be a need for the Bills, given that there's not really a whole lot left that would just easily slot in as a clear and obvious selection for Buffalo. Detroit at number 29, same kind of vibes, like edge rush, D-line. Don't love necessarily the board that's left. I'm going to go with Tyreek Sapp from my Florida Gators, 6'3", 275 pounds, had 13 TFLs and 7 sacks last year, almost a 90 PFF run grade. So you're getting a guy that's versatile. You're getting a guy that maybe might not have the highest of ceiling, but you're getting a guy that's going to immediately be able to come in and contribute to that defensive line. Maybe, again, what are we trying to talk about here for this defense? Everyone's like, you got to get that other pass rush for Aiden Hutchinson. But Aiden Hutchinson last season, he's going to be a guy that's going to get you your 16, 17, 18 plus sacks. So it means on the other side, you just need a guy that can do his job, good player, get a guy that can be a great player. But I don't necessarily think in this spot you need to go grab another 100% pass rush specialist, another guy that could get 15, 16. You know what I'm saying? You need to get a guy that's going to be reliable, plug-and-play starter that can do some of the dirty work and let Hutchinson be the premier pass rusher. I think you would exactly get that in Sapp, as shown by his ability to affect the run game. Baltimore at 30, another spot where, you could look at their defense. I agree that pass rush. Perkins had 10.5 sacks last year, but he's also 220 pounds, a very, very niche player. So if we're looking at just pass rush, I'd take a gamble that our Mason Thomas from Oklahoma could be the next one of these guys. Howell's a guy that needs to step up a little bit at A&M. We all know A&M linemen, those guys are popping off first, second rounds all the time. But I think when you look at our Mason Thomas, he is 6'2", 255, 13 TFLs, and 9 sacks last season. Brings the juice for Oklahoma, and I think he'd be a very nice contributor for that Ravens pass rush rotation. But we're kind of just taking shots in the dark right now. Don't love sticking my neck out right now. I'm like, yes, that's the pass rusher. That's absolutely going to be a lock in the first round. I'm taking gambles of guys that had good seasons last year, that have first, second round traits, and the expectation is that, Aaron Mason Thomas will be one of the best pass rushers on a very much improved, I think, Oklahoma Sooners team. Kansas City at 31. We're going to go Eli Stowers, the tight end from Vandy. It's time probably to get a young successor in for Travis Kelce. Stowers, 6'4", 225, a former quarterback, had 49 catches, 630 yards, 5 touchdowns in the SEC last year on Vandy. Great connection with Diego Pavia. He's expected to be a very big tester as well. Very nice athlete. You could just see he has almost like wide receiver speed at times to get away from DBs and create that separation at the second level. And I think for Kansas City, it does feel like this is probably going to be the final season for Travis Kelce. You got Gray, you got some other guys there, but why not get an upside, someone that's a legitimate weapon day one at that tight end spot for Kansas City, for Mahomes and that offense. And now we're finishing with my Philadelphia Eagles at pick 32. All right, don't screw this up. You got Christian Miller, Georgia Bulldog, could go first round. I think with the picking up the fifth-year option of Jordan Davis, that's always could potentially be a pick. I think slot wide receiver could be an interesting spot. I don't love the board, being honest with you. Obviously there's a chance if Nick Harbor looks good with that testing, someone could fall in love. Like the Raiders will probably have to do everything in their power. Like somehow Al Davis beyond the grave is like, get him now. So that could be something that's interesting. But I think ultimately for my Eagles, you look you don't love the tackles that are left right now. I don't love the D linemen that are available. I don't love the pass rush, or we continue to look for that rotation. Perkins, some of these linebackers are interesting, but the expectations, we're going to play Jihad Campbell probably more off-ball, start him off-ball. So if you have that and Zach Bond, you get N'Kobe Dean healthy coming back in. I think the pick here for Philly would be outside corner. My gamble is you look at the outside corner right now, we have Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks competing for that route, which sucks because Jalen Kilgore is 6'1", 210 pounds, an awesome player. But unless the Philadelphia Eagles move Cooper DeJean to the outside, which I don't see them doing, Kilgore's going to be a nickel. So if I had to gamble on an outside corner, you got Will Lee, sure. You got Delane, the transfer from Virginia Tech, could be. Everett has the Georgia Bulldog tie. You have Tacario Davis, especially if he's getting Jed Fish, who was roommates with Howie Roseman, Arizona, Washington. Tacario Davis, 6'4". That could be something to keep an eye on. If I had to take a gamble right now, I'm going to go Domani Jackson. Here's why. 6'1", 190 pounds. Alabama, checkmark, one of the school Howie Roseman likes to poach players from, winning culture, all that stuff. Alabama's not Nick Saban, Alabama. Former 5-star recruit, checkmark. It's just expectation. I'm going off of that. 4.28 is his projected 40 time right now, so that's kind of take a little bit lower. He's going to be 6'1" and maybe run the 4.3s. Okay? Elite speed. He is a plus run defender, which is what Vic Fangio you can't look at any scouting report to Domani Jackson and not hear how well he does crashing down and affecting and chipping into the run game. A lot of these finesse speed corners, they do not like to do the dirty work. He likes to do the dirty work. 52 tackles shows that. Seven PBUs, 2 interceptions, height, weight, speed, pedigree, background, all the things that Howie Roseman likes to look for in a DB. Obviously going way off the board if you're trusting these mock draft sites, but that's what this way too early mock draft's about. Can I find some guys that no one has going in the first round, say they're going to go in the first round, justify why they could, and then look back at a year from time now and see where these guys end up falling. So there you go, fellas. That is your way too early 2026 mock draft that likely was ruined from a can I get all of them right by having Archman go first, even though I don't think he's going to be there. He's going to wait another year. But what do you guys think about this one? Do you agree with the picks for your team? Is there anybody that I'm sleeping on too much? I didn't have Nussmeier go in the first round. I don't really see a first-round quarterback right now. That could be my spicy hot take. But I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. If it is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Madden 25 off-season rebuild, a rebuild from the fallout of the 2025 NFL Draft. I think, what else we got to say? Oh, if it is your first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed, leave a comment, helps the video out with the YouTube algorithm, and I'll see you guys back here in the next one. Till then, it's your boy C4 saying peace out, love ya, have a good one.